Lizzie. Today I'm going to talk about the top 8 strangest parts of Catholicism from the perspective of me, a former Protestant. I converted from a Protestant denomination called Churches of Christ, also called Church of Christ, COC. I would say it's anti-Catholic, more anti-Catholic than most denominations. I made a YouTube short to go to this video. I've started posting all my TikToks on YouTube Shorts since TikTok may or may not be going away. So check out that part of my YouTube channel if you want daily content. Number 1, keeping bones and blood of dead Catholics inside Catholic churches. So these are first-class relics, which is the body part of a Catholic saint who's in heaven. Learning that people have bones and blood droplets in their church, and not only like some Catholics, but every single Catholic church, there's supposed to be a relic on the altar, and the Orthodox Church is the same way, where there is a relic sewn into the cloth that goes on the altar. I don't even like driving past graveyards. Something about that is just, it weirds me out unless it's my family. Once I learned about the theology of relics, I started to like it more, which is with so many things in Catholicism that I hated the feel of it emotionally, and then it wasn't until I understood it that I enjoyed it. So it's the same thing about relics, and I really recommend this book called Relics and Miracles by Sergius Volko. I will put that in the video description. It's a really short book and it's so good. Number 2 is that having crucifixes and images of Jesus dying on the cross all over every Catholic church, it was so violent and I hated it. I remember the first time I ever went to Mass at Our Lady of Malibu, which was next to my college, Pepperdine. I saw a big crucifix at the front and I was shocked. It was so hard to pay attention to the music. It was so hard to pay attention to the homily. Coming from the perspective of only seeing empty crosses and artwork, seeing someone being violently, brutally killed, and Jesus, who I love, so seeing someone you love being murdered in such a violent way, it's shocking. Luckily, the first church I was going to every week at Latin Mass before I converted, they had a resurrected Jesus cross. It was in Florida. A lot of churches in Florida had the same one. And then the church I converted in, St. Ambrose in LA, they also had a non-violent image. It was like a hopeful, resurrected image of the crucifixion, which I really loved. And so I feel like God honestly worked so well with my personality in that the first churches I went to, they didn't have a violent crucifix. Part of it too is I have bipolar disorder, and part of bipolar is having an extreme empathy. And even though I take medication, violence still bothers me more than it does most people. Now I understand that the image is showing how much Jesus loves us so much and wanting us to follow his example in dying to ourselves, taking up our cross, following him, making sacrifices in our life to love people so well. So now I understand the meaning, and I think it's really beautiful, and it's a great reminder of what Jesus did to us and how we are to live. But initially, for the first few years of being Catholic, it was shocking. Number 3 most shocking thing is how well cradle Catholics know the Bible. I was taught growing up in my Protestant churches that Catholics do not go by the Bible, even they don't read the Bible. It was just very much like, if you're going by the Bible, you're a Protestant. Catholics don't go by the Bible. They don't know the Bible very well. They don't use the Bible very much. That was just the general message I was taught growing up. And so if you're told something over and over and over again by the people you intellectually trust and respect, it's hard to get rid of that. I've actually experienced this at my jobs. So I work at my church with my husband, and we run youth group and CCD for the younger kids. I also am a campus minister working at some colleges. And at those jobs, most of the people are cradle Catholics and grew up Catholic. Although at my campus ministry job, every year there's at least one person who is converting into Catholicism. But most of the people are cradle Catholic. When we're doing Bible study, or just having casual conversation. The students who grew up Catholic will reference different Bible stories. A lot of them are very obscure niche Bible stories. And then at my job at youth group, we always play a game every week. One of the games we play at youth group that I've put together is Bible charades. And I pick really, really obscure stories from all over the Bible, and everyone knows the stories. Like, I originally, when I made the game, I had the Bible verses for each one so that if they didn't know the story, they could read the Bible verse. They all know the Bible so well in so much detail, and it's shocking to me. It still is, because I was told my whole life, Catholics don't know the Bible. People who grow up Catholic, not just they're baptized and never go to Mass, but people who actually have been practicing the faith their whole lives, they know the Bible so well. And I would say even better than most Protestants, but probably about the same as Church of Christ, because Church of Christ really emphasizes the Bible too. Number 4 is how short homilies are. So my church I grew up in had 40-minute sermons, which I absolutely loved. Since I was in elementary school, I always carried around a God journal, as I called it, and I would take sermon notes every week. And I actually liked the sermon more than the singing at church, which I know is, I think, pretty rare, because most people I know enjoy singing more than the sermon or message time. But I love the sermon. It was the same way at the Church of Christ I went to in college on campus. I'm pretty sure the sermons were also around 40 minutes to an hour. So when I started going to Mass and the homily is like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, it's so sad. I wish we had much longer homilies. And I know this is a thing in the US. In other countries, they do have homilies that are way longer and are similar to the Protestant sermon length I grew up with. But in the US, it is really sad to me how short they are, because I want to hear the priest talk for an hour, because they went to school for so long, their seminary experience was so intense, they know so much, and they could do amazing hour homilies. Number 5 is that Christmas lasts so long, and my husband and I actually still have our Christmas tree up. I didn't know about this when I was in OCIA, which was called RCIA when I was in it. I didn't know this, and so I remember the first Christmas when I was in OCIA, I went to Mass the week after Christmas, and all the Christmas trees and Christmas decorations were still there. The manger scene was still there, and I was like, what? What is going on? And then I learned how long Christmas is in Catholicism, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then 2018 was my first year of attending Mass the whole year, and so I saw how big of a deal so many holidays are. Holidays are just the biggest thing ever. There are so many feast days and so many different ways that Catholics celebrate it, and I feel like in the US we celebrate things less than other like Catholic majority countries do, so in other countries it's even more of a big deal. But I think it's really cool. And my husband and I actually put our Christmas tree up before Thanksgiving, and then we keep it up until Lent starts. We just really like our Christmas tree, so that's our current family tradition. Number 6, so this was a misunderstanding, but the first ever time I was at Mass, we walked in and people were genuflecting, which if you're not Catholic, it's just bowing on one knee, crossing yourself, and then walking into your pew. That's what people do before walking in, and we are bowing to Jesus in the Eucharist. But I didn't know about the theology of the Eucharist the first time I was at Mass with my friend from college. I saw at the front of the church a Mary statue next to the crucifix, and when I saw people bowing to the front, I was thinking, they're worshiping Mary. And I've been taught that my whole life as a Protestant, that Catholics worship Mary, and so I looked forward and I saw a Mary statue, and so I'm like, this is happening. It terrified me. I was panicked. I hated seeing people genuflect. I thought my friend was worshiping Mary, who I was there with. So for me, because at the front, a lot of times there's like the crucifix and then some statues, I don't know why I didn't think they were worshiping the Jesus statue. That would make more sense, but you know, the way I grew up, that was just what I was thinking. And then I learned, oh, Jesus in the Eucharist, they're just bowing to God. Number 7 is how Catholics come so early to Mass to pray and then stay after so long to pray. So I feel like there's a stereotype where people talk about how some Catholics leave right after receiving communion and don't stay longer. But that's like one person you see occasionally. A lot of Catholics come to Mass early to pray silently, and then they stay after and pray some more. And that was just surprising to me because the churches I went to as a Protestant, after church ends, you start talking to everyone around you. You just go back to socializing. And I actually always felt weird doing that once I developed bipolar disorder, because I had hyper spirituality going on with bipolar, and I remember wanting to just wait 5 or 10 minutes and marinate on the sermon before talking to people. And then when I started going to Latin Mass, people stayed after praying in silence, and I was so excited. I was thinking, I found my people, this is my spiritual essence, this is great. And then when I started going to St. Ambrose in LA, when I was in OCIA, it's a church in English in Novus Ordo. The same thing happened where people stayed after to pray. And every single Catholic church I go to, I travel a lot, there's always people who stay after silently and pray. And if you go early, there's a lot of other people who come early. And I just think that's so cool. And for me, it's so much easier to focus during Mass. I feel like I get more out of it when I come early in silence and pray. And I love staying after and just marinating on the whole service and the homily and the songs and worshiping God, all of that, just being able to think about it more and hang out in silence before socializing again is so amazing, and definitely one of my favorite parts of Catholic culture. Number 8, so many people can relate to this who are not Catholic, is how often you sit, then stand, then sit, then stand, then kneel, then stand, then kneel, then sit. And now that I'm Catholic, I feel like it's not that difficult to keep up with it. It just seems normal. But before I was Catholic, and all my friends who come to Mass with me, they comment on it. And it's actually stressful for people who are converts and coming to Mass for the first time, because it just happens so much and you don't know what's going on. And I don't know why I didn't think, oh, I'll just do what the people in the pew ahead of me are doing, but for some reason it stressed me out so much when I first started going because I didn't know what was going on. But now it's just like, oh, it's not that difficult. That was the whole video. Make sure to turn on bell notifications so you'll see when I upload new videos. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!